Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 8 degrees of Libra, which will be exact on September 30th at 8:11 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, or 5:11 p.m. Pacific time, which is also LA time. Now, the new moon is the beginning of a new moon cycle, and this one is very powerful because it's ending eclipse season. Yes! So the last 4 weeks we were in full eclipse mode and things were just up and down and all over the place, and there was a lot of uncertainty. But now with this new moon, we're starting to feel a little bit more centered again and a little bit more connected to our breath. And so the new moon, of course, is a good time to go within, to seed anything we would like to connect for the next 28 days. And we will also talk about the best and most potent time to set new moon intentions towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. I also have an important announcement to make, especially for those of you who are either thinking of getting a reading with me or who would like to join my next monthly forecasting forum. So don't miss that. That's also towards the end of the video, okay? Now, let's go back to the new moon, though. Again, it's an introverted time, the new moon. We go within, we see what we wish to align ourselves with for the next 28 days. And so with the new moon in harmonious or harmony-loving, balance-seeking Libra, we seek win-win situations all around us, fair exchanges with others, the world, and with ourselves, harmony in relationships, harmony with others and ourselves, our environment, anything that promotes harmony, basically, right, is Libra. And so this is a great time to begin a new project that calls for diplomacy, negotiation, or relationship skills. Now, here are some useful questions that you can ask yourself for this new moon cycle. Where is the balancing point for me? So within the next 28 days, just keep checking in with yourself and just see, where is the balancing point for me? And what if harmony and peace were mine to create? And that's another really great question you can ask yourself. And just with these questions that I asked throughout my video, just allow yourself to sit with these questions, be with them, meditate with them, journal on them. You don't have to find the answers right away to these questions. It's just a matter of just allowing yourself to be in the question and to allow the answers to come to you rather than trying to figure it out and trying to think your way through it, right? So it's more of a open process where the answers will come to you as you keep posing those questions, right? Now, all the questions from this video are also available on my website, so if you want to see them in front of you or maybe journal with them, go to my website, to AstrologerCoach.com, via my weekly forecasts. Go to Friday, September 30th, and that's all the questions will be in that entry. And you can also sign up to receive these weekly forecasts via email in the future if you like. Just email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, and my assistant will add you to that mailing list. All right? Now back to the new moon. The Libra energy encourages us to see both sides of a situation, always. And so it's all about trying to really find the middle path, or better yet, to find win-win situations. Find a way to bring two opposites together, to reconcile opposite energies. And so we really need to engage the mind and the heart in order to do that. Because if we're only engaging the mind, then we're just kind of like trying to figure it out, or we're separating things from each other. But as we're engaging the heart, that allows us to not only see what's going on intellectually, but we're also able to connect something. The heart always wants to connect, right? And so through connection, we can create win-win. And so we're also seeking the highest and best outcome for everyone involved as we're doing that, right? So in other words, we need to see everyone as equally deserving, right? So because if we think that someone is less or more, then we're not going to create a win-win there, right? So as a situation arises, we need to make sure that we know that everyone is equal in this. Everyone is deserves the equal amount of pie that is being handed out, right? And that includes ourselves, right? So it's not just about other people, it includes us too. And we need to know that we deserve just as much as everybody else as well. So it's really an exercise of fairness towards everyone, ourselves included. So as best as you can, you know, just we're looking to really seek mutually beneficial relationships here without compromising ourselves completely. Right? So it's not about compromising ourselves. It's not about giving up our values. It's not about giving up our goals. It's merely about trying to find a way to work together so that we can find something that helps both of us, right? Or that helps a bunch of us, right? In the same way, that's satisfactory to everybody, right? So questions you can ask yourself here is, what does interconnectedness mean to you? And this is an important question because interconnectedness is, you know, when each part involved in something that we're doing creates a better, more sophisticated part of the whole. So as we're coming together and we're working together, we're creating something better, more sophisticated and that can function on a higher level, right? Than if it's just one of us. And that's the job of Libra, is to make that happen. And then you also want to ask yourself, how is this different from codependency? And just for those of you who don't know what codependency is when we're feeling codependent with another person, we're only able to be happy when the other person is happy as well. Or we only feel okay if the other person is okay as well. Right? So that's sort of codependency. So how is that different from interconnectedness? And I just want you to just kind of sit with that or journal on that or meditate, because that's a really important distinction to have for yourself, right? And here's a thought, another thought for Libra. What if the more we can approve ourselves, of ourselves, the easier it would become to create relationships that honor both parties equally? Okay, that's a long question, so let's do that again. So what if the more we can approve of ourselves, the easier it would get to create relationships that honor both parties equally? And that is really the journey of Libra, right? That's really what Libra is all about, wanting to find that ability to honor yourself and honor everybody else in the process as well. And it's all equal. It's all fair, right? So especially for those of us who are relationship people, this is a very important question to ask, right? How can you approve of yourself as well? Now, the new moon aligns with Jupiter in Libra, which, Jupiter just moved into Libra, and the new moon is in the beginning of Libra, so they're in alignment. And so I also recorded a video about Jupiter in Libra just recently, so feel free to watch that as well. And so this connection is asking us to shift our perception about how we relate to others, to ourselves, to the world, to our environment, right? And questions you can ask yourself here is, what do you believe about relationships? What do you believe? What have you learned to believe, or what thoughts have you turned into the truth about relationships, right? Because beliefs are just thoughts, reoccurring thoughts that we've made into the truth, right? So what beliefs do you have about relationships, and how are you being in your relationships? You know, like how do you connect when you connect? You know, who are you being in your relationships, right? And how can we create a balance between our inner masculine and feminine, our active and receptive sides? And this is a very much a Libra question, you know, because Libra tries to connect the opposite energies, right? And what's more opposite than active and receptive, masculine and feminine, right? Very opposite. And Libra really wants us to to bring the two together and have them work in harmony with each other, the masculine and the feminine, within ourselves, within our relating with other people, between the two sexes, you know, like really, but it starts within ourselves always, right? And last question you can ask yourself, what do you love or hate about others? And this is a very important question for Libra as well, because Libra is like a mirror. It's like we're mirroring back to another person what is already inside of them, right? So whatever we see in others has to do with something that already exists inside of us, because we wouldn't be able to see it in another person if it wasn't already there inside of us. If it's not there, you can't perceive it, right? So maybe it's not going to show up exactly the same way inside of us than we see it in somebody else. Sometimes the volumes are turned up in different ways, right? Our volume might be turned down way and turned up in somebody else, or vice versa. It's turned down in somebody else and turned up in us. And so we just need to kind of investigate that a little bit and see, like, where does that exist inside of us, and how do you relate to those traits as they are present in yourself, right? Like the things that you see in others, how do you relate to those traits inside yourself? How do you connect with those? And, you know, very, very good way to realize that is through public figures, for example, you know, because public figures will always reflect back to us what we love or what we hate about ourselves. So you can kind of like play a game around that and practice and see, you know, how can you, like someone that you really love and someone that you really hate, who's like a politician or an actor or a musician, you know, just to see how these traits are inside of you, right? Now, the other thing with this new moon is that Venus, which is the ruler of Libra, is in Scorpio at the time. And so Venus really connects us to our heart chakra. And in this particular placement in Scorpio, it really invites us to go deeper. Scorpio is all about going deeper, connecting more authentically to our emotional body, especially when it comes to connecting or sharing our feelings with other people in an authentic way. And so superficiality is not going to be a great option right now with this placement, because we're really interested in digging deeper into understanding our motivations for relationships or for relating. So questions you can ask yourself here with this Venus in Scorpio placement: why are we attracted to certain relationships in our lives? And how acceptable is it for us to share our deepest fears with others? Or our deepest shadow parts, you know, things that we don't like about ourselves, you know, our darkness. What are we afraid to share? Again, you know, it comes back to our fears, our darkness, our shadow parts, right? And how close is too close or not close enough? And this is a very Scorpionic question, because Scorpio is all about the extremes, right? So Venus in Scorpio, we're either going to feel like we want to be much, much closer, or we're like, fuck, get away from me. I don't want to be at all around you, you know, cut it off, right? And then there's a couple of more questions. What are other people's motivations? You know, this is something we want to get to the bottom of with Venus in Scorpio. Or why are they in it? Why are they in this relationship? What are my motivations? Why am I in it, right? So these are some of the things we're kind of like mulling around as Venus is moving through Scorpio. Now Neptune in Pisces is making a beautiful trine to that Venus in Scorpio placement at the time of the new moon. And so this really softens the intensity of that Scorpio intensity within us and gives us a more compassionate approach to relationships. We have the ability to be more empathic. It creates a sense of oneness with other people. And also we're capable of trusting. We're capable of trusting other people a little bit more. And so this is really this is a placement where we're also inspired creatively, and we're able to connect to our feelings and being guided by our intuition more fully. So this is really beautiful, you know, having this Neptune-Venus alignment in that way, in this beautiful way. Now, if you're looking for a soulmate right now, this might be a good time to find it, right? With Venus coming together with Neptune in such a beautiful way. But it's very important to remember that a true soulmate is someone who really supports our soul's journey and our soul purpose. Someone who wants you to succeed or learn something. Someone who supports and challenges us to be more than we're currently allowing ourselves to be. And this is important to remember. And another thing that's also important to remember is that our soul's journey is not just an outer journey. It's also an inner journey, right? It's not just about what do we accomplish or succeed as in the outer world, but also what is our inner journey in terms of our connection to ourselves on an emotional, intuitive level as well. And that is a very important journey as well, because that journey helps us with our outer journey, with our outer successes, right? So one other thing worth mentioning with this new moon is that the Saturn-Neptune square that's been with us for, it seems like forever, for a year already, is coming to an end with this lunar cycle finally. And it's been with us for such a long time, and we've had to stretch and grow. We've had to really learn so much about, you know, our capacity to trust divine timing with things, especially when it comes to our accomplishments, and also taking responsibility for the role our beliefs play in creating our reality. You know, how are we working with our manifestation process? You know, what do we believe to be true about how we manifest things? And so most of us, you know, have learned that, or possibly have learned that rushing, because Saturn is in Sagittarius, so there's a desire to move fast, right? To manifest fast, but that this rushing really results in possibly inappropriate boundaries or rigidity or anxiety or maybe even overwhelm. And so learning to be in this physical experience truthfully and responsibly, while being guided by your intuition and remaining connected to your higher self, to spirit. That is really what this square is all about, right? And so we're really, as we're going along this year, as we're being sort of like pushed in different directions and feeling anxious or overwhelmed or feeling rigid or stopped by certain things, we're learning to find this connection. We're learning to creatively work with our spiritual energies and with our physical energies of manifesting, right? And if you want to learn a little bit more about that Saturn-Neptune square, we've been talking about it for a long time, so feel free to watch previous videos or also my Saturn in Sagittarius video that I have on my website at AstrologerCoach.com. All right. Now, the new moon is also making a square to Mars and Pluto in Capricorn. And so this, of course, also challenges us in some way to make adjustments within our long-term goals and also possibly within our relationships. And so as best as you can, be open to receiving feedback from other people during this time, stay open while remaining connected to what empowers you, and what you feel passionate about. And, if you feel pressured into doing something or you feel a power struggle build in some way, or you feel a certain amount of needing to push back because you get scared that another person is trying to do something that you don't want to do. As best as you can, just stay centered, stay grounded, stay open, and use your creativity to find win-win situations, right? Rather than moving with fear, move with your heart, move with opening up your heart and find win-win situations. And ask yourself, when something like this shows up, a situation like this shows up, ask yourself, what if this were a major growth opportunity in disguise right now? What I'm experiencing right now. What then? What might I be doing then? if this was a major growth opportunity, right? Or, with this square, you can also ask yourself, what might be possible if I could accept those parts of myself that I have rejected because I feared disapproval? So very often, we reject certain things of ourselves because we don't want to be disapproved of by our peers, by our family, by people in society. And so we kind of hide things away. And so what if it was possible to accept those parts of ourselves that we've hidden away, that we've tried to kind of hide from ourselves even sometimes, right? Because we don't want to be disapproved of. Or another question you can ask yourself with this square is, what would courageous love do right now? And courageous love is really just love without fear present, without victim behavior present. It's just being completely open, completely present and courageous in the here and now. So what would courageous love do if you have a situation show up that feels a little bit like, disempowering, or it feels fearful in some way? What would courageous love do? Now, that brings me also to talking a little bit about Pluto, because of course Pluto is now moving direct again, but it's still very strong in the sky. It's still stationing. So it's providing us an opportunity to really take a giant step forward in our lives. And with Pluto, the temptation is to obsess over long-term goals, in particular right now with Pluto being in Capricorn, right? Out of fear that, we obsess out of fear that there's not enough recognition for us, or not enough progress for us in the outer world, or with what we're trying to do, not enough results, or not the right kind of results that we want, not enough achievement or ability to provide something for society or for our families or for ourselves. And so we really need to watch out for the fear factor with Pluto, because obsession comes from fear. When we're not fearful, we don't have to obsess, right? And so as best as you can, just remember, you're always accomplishing things. You're always making progress, even if it doesn't feel that way. Even if it's not visible yet, whatever the progress that you're looking for, right? This is a long time process, right? Pluto is moving slowly, which means we're needing to get in alignment with what we feel most passionate about. And that can take time. It means we have to let go of the stuff that's in our way of being in that complete alignment and being authentically aligned with our passions, right? And so one thing that we want to look out for, or that we want to look at, is when are we pushing or trying to control the outcome of a long-term goal or something that we want to accomplish? Because pushing and trying to control the outcome is not a key to success. It may have been in the past, but with Pluto being in Capricorn, it's not going to help us. That's not going to support us. On the other hand, what might support us is really taking a look at self-care, resting, recreation. These are really critical components for us right now to be able to move ahead. Because when we're resting and when we're feeling fully refreshed, then we can be more emotionally authentic with what we're building and what we're trying to accomplish in the world. So in fact, self-care is a very important component in this. Without it, we can't accomplish much because we're always behind the 8 ball. And we're not in alignment with ourselves. So ask yourself this: what does self-care look like for you? What nurtures you? And what helps you bring your A game? How can you accomplish more? But first look at what self-care does for you, right? So that was a lot. But so this new moon has a core message, right? As you can see from what we've already been talking about. As within, so without, right? So what's inside of you is getting reflected back to you outside of you. And what you do for yourself is what you also accomplish in the outside world. So look inside yourself and own all the projections, own everything that you're you're projecting out onto other people or onto situations outside of yourselves? What have you disowned or rejected about yourself? How do these traits show up in your relationships with other people, whether it's good or bad? Because it's both, right? The projection is not always just a negative one. It can also be a positive one, right? And what if you brought 5% more consciousness to the abandoned and rejected places inside of you? And what if you sent them 5% more love? Because love is always what helps us open up, what helps us move more towards our higher selves, right? Now, if you have an ascendant or any personal planets in 6 to 10 degrees of Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, then you're definitely going to feel this new moon more strongly than other people. However, even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, the house placement in your natal chart affected by this new moon is equally as important. So take a look at your birth chart and take a look at where does 8 degrees of Libra fall in your birth chart. And so for the next 28 days, you want to really take a look at that house, at that area of your life, and see what this area of your life represents and how you can find more balance there, how you can connect more in that area of your life with yourself or with other people in a harmonious way, in a fair way, in a way where you're creating win-win situations. If you don't have a birth chart, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, even if you have a birth chart and you don't know how to do this, feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. You can either do that on YouTube or you can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and then my assistant will email you that recording with some handouts. And it's also a great recording to watch right before you join our monthly forecasting forum. And I will mention that briefly in a second. But first, I just want to tell you very quickly, before we go into the new moon intentions as well, I will be in Sedona from October 2nd until October 8th. And I'm sorry to say, but during that time, I'm not going to be available for Skype or phone readings. And for those of you who are thinking about getting a reading, please already book a reading with me now so I can fit you in right away when I get back from my trip after October 8th, because most likely that time period is going to be very busy. So if you're thinking about it, plan ahead. And the other thing I want to talk about is the monthly forecasting forums, because the next best thing besides getting a one-on-one reading with me is really joining these monthly forecasting forums. This is why I have created them, because these webinars are there for us to really get an alignment with what's coming up for us energetically speaking. We will be using our own birth charts actively during the webinars to see how everything aligns with our own birth chart. And so for this next monthly forecasting forum, we'll take a look at how the energies that are happening in mid to late October, but also in November, impact you personally, and how they land in your birth chart. And just remember, there is a Neptune station coming up in November. There's also a supermoon, which is a full moon in Aries coming up in mid-October. So these are all things that have an impact on each one of us. So in order to know what that will look like for you, it's a great thing to join me for the monthly forecasting forum. All right. So if you want to do that, if you want to know, the next forum is Tuesday, October 18th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. New York time, and 11 p.m. London time. So whatever time zone you're in, just see how that relates to your time zone. And you can sign up to join these webinars live, or you can register and receive an MP4 video recording within 24 hours of the live event. And the forums are $24 for the 90-minute webinar. And this is really a fantastic price for what you're getting, because it's almost like getting a reading, because you get your questions answered, you get to see how it's in alignment with your chart. It's not exactly like a one-on-one reading, of course, but it's similar, and it really, really is very supportive. So register now if you want to join us at AstrologerCoach.com by clicking on the link below the video of Saturn in Sagittarius. And there, when you click on that link and you get to the page of the monthly forecasting forums, there is an online form as well. So please fill that out, as well as making your payment, because that online form will help me understand whether you want to join live or not. And also you can ask questions in advance so that your questions will definitely be answered during the forum. And especially if you're not able to join live, this is a great way to get the maximum support, right? All right, so that's the monthly forecasting forum. And now let's talk about the new moon intentions, the moment we've been waiting for, setting powerful intentions for this moon cycle for the next 28 days. The best time to do that is always right after the new moon becomes exact, and not during the moon void, of course, phases. So this month, the best time is between 8:11 p.m. on September 30th until 1:43 a.m. on October 2nd. And both of those times are Eastern Standard Time, New York time. So if you are in a different time zone, feel free to plug in those New York times into a time zone converter on the internet. But you can also join me on my Facebook fan page or my Twitter page. I will be posting several times throughout those 17 and a half hours when it's the most potent time to set these intentions. So feel free to join me there. And if you want to have more information about how to set your new moon intentions, that's available too, either on my Facebook fan page if you go to the notes sections from your computer, or on my website. You can go to weekly forecasts and then click on astrology articles on that weekly forecasts page. So on the left side of that page, you will see a lot of links, and one of them is astrology articles. And if you scroll down on that page, one of the articles is about the new moon intentions. All right, so all that is available on my website, AstrologerCoach.com, as well as the questions from this video. So if you want to journal on them or meditate on them, you want to see them right in front of you, go to my website, and via the weekly forecasts, if you go to Friday, September 30th, you will be able to see all the questions listed there in that entry. But you can also sign up for the weekly forecasts and receive them via email every week, every Sunday evening. If you email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, we will add you to that mailing list. If you don't want to receive emails once a week and you just want to receive my newsletter, which is something that I send out twice a month, and I will send you my videos, I will send announcements about any courses that I teach or special offers that I have at the time. Also, we'll talk about the monthly forecasting forums. So anything like that, if you want to receive the newsletter, then just write newsletter in the subject line when you email us at info@astrologercoach.com. Of course, you can also receive both, so feel free to write both in the subject line, the weekly forecast and newsletter. Have a fantastic new moon. Remember, it's an introverted time. It's a time where we get in touch with what we want to align with for the next 28 days. So have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.